Hey there. Welcome to another episode of Don't Waste the Chaos. I'm pumped to have you with me today for a high-value interview with Beth Donaldson. Beth is the founder and CEO of SkinBe Med Spa, an award-winning medical spa based in St. Louis. She's also the host of the Hustle and Heart podcast, a podcast that fuels heart and hustle and passion for entrepreneurs who dream big and settle for nothing short of the best. Beth was named the top inspiring woman in leadership to watch out for in 2023 by CIO magazine. She's known as a trailblazer and innovator in the aesthetic space and has won a number of awards for top med spa, both locally and nationally. When she is not changing the entrepreneurial game, she loves spending time with her fur babies, BB and Ty. She loves traveling the world, cooking homemade meals while sipping on a glass of wine or spending time outdoors in nature. She's an adventurer at heart who loves living life to the fullest. Now, my personal history with Beth is rich. I first met her when I was nearly 20 years old in the Stafford dormitory at the University of Missouri, Columbia. Shout out to Mizzou, and that was over 20 years ago. We've been rooting each other on in business and in our personal lives ever since. Beth spent over 16 years in a top-ranked organization, several of those years at the executive level prior to launching her own businesses, and has had some hobby projects and real estate investments along the way as well. She's a total boss, the strongest woman in sales I've ever met, and a multi-passionate entrepreneur. Beth, thanks so much for joining us today. Let's hop in and give the people what they came here for. So let's start out by talking through a personal narrative about navigating the challenges of starting a business. Now, specifically, since I know your story, I'd like you to highlight an instance of adversity you encountered early on and discuss how overcoming it shaped your approach to entrepreneurship.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for the introduction. I'm excited to be here, and I would love to share that. First of all, I would say entrepreneurship, if I had to give it a title, would definitely be the ultimate roller coaster ride, as I'm sure you can really relate to that. There's so many ups and downs, and it sure does take a ton of grit and resilience as a business owner and entrepreneur. I would say one story I would love to share that really built and shaped my approach to entrepreneurship and being able to have the ability to really stay in line with my goals and my vision was a name change. So it was one of my first big, what I would consider failures, which I think is huge in growing as an entrepreneur, is really embracing those failures. But what happened was I named my med spa actually Skin Injectables. And early on, before we even opened, we opened in December of 2017. So in August of 2017, when the build out was happening and a lot of expenses, were going into it, I got a letter from an attorney, a cease and desist letter about the name that I chose for my med spa. And looking back, I'm like, wow, people already knew about me before I was even open. So that was kind of cool. But it was heartbreaking. I thought the world was ending. And it's so interesting looking back now when you learn and when you adjust when needed and kind of move forward anyways. But once I received that letter, I had already started advertising. I had the building sign up. We have a big, beautiful signage in the lobby area. So a lot of expenses already went into it with the marketing, and I started talking to people. So it was also like an embarrassing moment, like a very, pivotal moment for me. But I remember when I got that letter, I was just devastated. And so I went to two people, and one of them was my branding guy that had been with me since probably a year before we opened, created my logo and branding and all that. And I was like, what are we going to do? Like, this is, the sign is already there. And I don't know, money is a big thing too, but also just like thinking that I had that perfect name and then having a letter from an attorney. And actually this med spa was located in Arizona. It was just a one location med spa, but they had trademarked the name is the thing here. And the interesting thing about entrepreneurship is everything I've learned to date, it has been through failures and lessons and being in the thick of things. I didn't know anything about trademarking. And so now I trademark everything. But what happened with that is I actually just took a couple weeks and really reflected, and I started journaling like words that came to mind that meant something to me. So I don't know how much time we have, but actually the new name that I chose it kind of has like a tri-effect. And a very deep meaning now. And now I look back and I can't imagine it anything else but SkinBe Med Spa. So that's one of the first adversities that I went through that I thought was just, such a big roadblock. But looking back on it, it was a beautiful thing because SkinBe is just, that is the brand. And then shortly thereafter, something that was really interesting, I went to the 10X Growth Con, and one of the speakers was Sarah Blakely, which I love her. She is, for anyone that doesn't know who that is, she is the founder of Spanx and the first self-made woman billionaire in the USA. And so she is absolutely amazing, but part of her speech was about naming your organization. And this is after I already became SkinBe. But the really cool thing that she pointed out during that speech is that I forget what tier of business, but very successful organizations have names that you can't find in the dictionary. So for example, Nike the meaning is the company, Spanx. Another interesting thing she pointed out with extremely successful company names is they all have a K sound in them. Coca-Cola, Spanx, Nike, SkinBe. And I was like, that's freaking cool, So just to hear something like that was really, really rad. But I think if I had to pick my very first failure or huge roadblock adversity that really shaped the way that I look at things, in business, it would be that for sure.
That's awesome. And I would say it's just a testament to your grit, because I think a lot of people would say that's before your doors even opened. A lot of people might say, shoot, does this mean I'm not supposed to do this? Am I supposed to hit the brakes? And that's wild in entrepreneurship, because those things happen all the time. Now, not to that level where you're having to rebrand yourself, but there are tons of times where as an entrepreneur, you're like, should I stop? Is this like the universe or a spiritual power or whatever, or just somebody else is trying to sabotage me? There's so many times where we can say like, is this the end? And I'm so glad you didn't, here we are over 6 years later, but that's really gritty of you to say like, all right, I'm going to reinvent before I even really had the chance to launch. So that's huge.
Right.
Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so SkinBe opened its doors, like I said, over 6 years ago. I know your anniversary was back in December of 23. That's a significant milestone, hitting past that 5-year mark. What strategies or principles have you implemented that have contributed to the longevity and success of your med spa?
That's a great question. And really, you kind of just mentioned this before, and I know I mentioned it in the previous question, but really it comes down to grit and resilience. Entrepreneurship is definitely not for the faint of heart. And so I think having the ability to pivot as needed, whether that be a challenge or changes in the landscape, especially in my industry, you have to be an innovator, a trailblazer, love to learn, and really embrace changing and pivoting when needed. And I think that's probably true in most industries, just in general. But I would say definitely having the characteristic and the mindset of let's do what we have to do to be the best, and depending on kind of where your industry is going to be successful. Also, I would say definitely just a lot of self-reflection and commitment to growth, and just making sure you figure it out. Like I said earlier, everything that I've learned, I didn't learn in school. I do value my education, but the things that I learn as an entrepreneur and business owner, are not things that they taught us in school. So every day I'm learning and I embrace it, and I do my best to use those failures as lessons so that I can pivot as needed.
Yeah. So speaking of pivoting, I know the med spa industry, it's a hot topic. Aesthetics is a hot topic and it's constantly evolving. So what are some of the interesting trends or innovations that you've observed in the industry over the years?
I love that question because you're so right. It is totally innovating every single day. A lot of the trends, one of the biggest trends I think that's super exciting is just seeing how people are embracing it more and it's not so taboo. I think some generations still kind of look at it like, oh, it's a bit taboo and they don't want to talk about it. And our motto at SkinBe is your secret's safe with us. So if you're not telling your husband or your partner or your girlfriends, it's okay. Your secret's safe with us. But it is really cool to see the trend of people are starting younger and they're really understanding like how important prevention is, as well as just how it, like when you feel better and you look better, you do better. And people really are understanding that more now than ever. And I think it's such a cool thing. And I heard something on a podcast where we're in the business world of experiences. We went through like the technology age and all of this thing, and now it's all about experiences. So also being able to provide a great experience during this is, I think, a trend that all businesses need to understand, that we've got to provide like an experience that people are really going to want to be a part of. But also like there's so many cool things happening in our industry. It literally is changing every day and it's super exciting. I love that part of what we do. Whether it's like new products that are launching, new injectables that are launching, new devices that are, more advanced technology. And so one of the things I pride myself in as a business owner, specifically of a med spa, is I won't jeopardize the quality of what we offer for price or, anything like that. Quality to me is much more than anything. And, we got to be delivering the results because then, again, that's connected to that experience. But specifically, some of the trends with injectables and things like that is kind of like people want that natural look. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot more products that are giving more of that natural look. One of my favorites is Sculptra. And Sculptra has been around for years, but people typically even 2 to 3 years ago were more going towards dermal fillers more often than they were biostimulators, which is where the family where Sculptra falls into. And now the sales of Sculptra are just skyrocketing across the nation because it gives more of that natural result. So I call it the celebrity treatment. It's one of the treatments. It stimulates natural collagen production, so it gives that really natural look. And all the celebrities that you see that are not overdone, like people like Julia Roberts and Halle Berry and things like that, and J-Lo, even though she claims she only does olive oil, those are the people doing Sculptra. So the world of aesthetics is definitely transitioning more towards biostimulators right now. Also, just more advanced techniques. One of the things that I love to share with our clients, for example, that might resonate with a lot of people, just in layman's terms, is when you start getting the smile lines around your mouth. A lot of people that aren't educated yet and haven't been in for an assessment might think that that's where you have to fill the area. And 15 years ago, we absolutely did. But we need to fix the core of the problem, not the outcome. And so the core is, like the mid-face area, because that is where we lose and everything starts drooping with gravity and things like that. So we have to fix the core of the problem, the root of the issue, which is the mid-face, which is kind of the foundation of everything. But even 10 years ago, and even today, some of the injectors and med spas that don't pride themselves in, the cutting edge techniques are still doing that. But that's when you get like that, I call the Homer Simpson look. We don't want to fill around the mouth. We want to fix the problem. So just seeing like where it's evolving, and every day is so exciting to me.
Yeah, that's so interesting. And I bet there's a lot of people listening to this that have either gone down that path and have said to themselves, like, ooh, I need to go to some place who's doing a little bit more research and a little bit more education, or they haven't gone down that path. And that just builds trust, knowing that you're focusing on that root cause instead of like what it is that they're seeing. So I love hearing about that. Super interesting.
Yeah.
So,
And another thing too, that I just want to add to kind of the trends is kind of going back to it being more of a normal thing, and not so judged when people decide that they want to take care of themselves. We all have that right, and we should. But really, it's just becoming so common. It's just as common as going to get your nails done. But again, some people just don't talk about it. So I think it's really cool that the girl and guy next door are embracing, becoming their best selves.
yes, I agree. So many entrepreneurs struggle with maintaining work-life balance. I don't even love that phrase. I'm more of a work-life integration type of person, but this is especially true in the fast-paced world of startups. So how do you prioritize self-care while running a thriving business, kind of practicing what you preach?
I'll be honest, I am still struggling with this. I think if any of us entrepreneurs said we perfected this, we would not be, so transparent. But it's just so difficult when we're juggling a million things and sacrificing so much to really go after our dreams, and very few people do that. So I try to give myself grace. Over the last few years, I definitely have kind of put myself in check and done some deep self-reflection to incorporate more things into my life and have more boundaries, and just, make sure that me time is me time. Like, so for example, from 9 p.m. till 7 a.m., my phone is on do not disturb every single day. I've incorporated working out and Pilates this year, most recently, which has been so great for my body and mind, traveling and things like that. So I definitely make it a priority to do things like that for me, but I haven't perfected that. So if you have, I would love to learn more or any listeners, but yeah, I'm trying to, but it's an everyday, like, conscious decision.
I think that's a good point, though, when you say, I'd like to hear more. I take something when it comes to this aspect of entrepreneurship. I take something from everyone that I'm talking to, like, how are you doing it? And we all want to know, how are you doing it? Because maybe you're doing it in an easier way than I am, but we all want to find something that like really is relatable to us. So I'm glad you gave a couple specific examples because, some people might be like, okay, that is something that I can do. I can't do all of the things. I can't, maybe I'm not the type of person who wants to wake up at 4:30 in the morning to start my day to accomplish more. Everyone's got their kind of set standards. So I'm glad you shared them.
Exactly. And a couple of them that I, was inspired by you is like our sourdough thing. Yeah. Our sourdough thing, which a lot of the world is doing now, I think is super cool. It's very just therapeutic to me to make things and do the whole sourdough thing, and cooking I love to do. And also, the little vitamin sachets that we do as well. But it's really just like incorporating little daily habits and not trying to go from like 0 to 150, because that's when you fail. Like, whether it's a diet or saying like, oh, today I'm going to just find balance. You have to do it in baby steps so that you can really stick with it.
I agree. And I'm cracking up because I have my Symbiotica little pouch right here to take afterward. But part of what, and I also made the cracker recipe that you sent to me the other day, those sourdough crackers, and I added the ranch seasonings. But I think something that's really important, and that I was actually talking to my husband about the other day, is it's not just learning from one another. It's talking to other people in this space, and it becomes like an accountability. When I see you doing things and talking about things that are good for you and good for your balance, good for your rest, good for your pets and your skincare and your relationships, whatever it is, it's inspiring, and it also holds me accountable. So I think it's important that we talk about that stuff.
Yeah, definitely. I love it.
So in a competitive market like the med spa industry, I mean, we've kind of hit on it. Aesthetics is booming. It feels like there's places everywhere. How are you differentiating your business and trying to stay ahead of the curve?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It is booming. And booming at a rate so fast that, by the way, in 2023 was over 7 billion and is expected to increase by over 20% in the next decade.
Wow.
So this industry, I started nearly 20 years ago, and it's just booming, which is super exciting. And there are med spas on every corner, which I really think there's enough business out there for all of us, especially because of, again, going back to like people actually are wanting to look and feel their best. I think the top two things, though, to really make yourself stand out and what I pride myself on at SkinBe is number one, safety and results. Unfortunately, there's a lot of med spas out there that just it's kind of not kind of, but it is under regulated. And a lot of things are going on with legislation on that. And I'm super excited for that to kind of tighten up because compliance is so important in our industry. It's medicine, aesthetic medicine. But results in safety, making sure that you put yourself and your priority as a med spa to deliver that. I think that is number one that's going to set you apart. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people like popping up and doing Botox at house parties or IV therapy at house parties, and that's going into your bloodstream. So if you're not doing it in a controlled, sanitized environment, a medical facility, then many things could happen there. So that's first and foremost. And those are the kind of clients that we want. We want clients that care about the safety and results. And then number two, I would say, again, goes back to the experience. People are going to come to you because they feel great. Like nothing is more fulfilling to me than when a client comes in and they're like, SkinBe is my happy place. Like, I love to be here. So it's all about that experience, which really is, how you're treating your clients and how they feel when they come in, and also how they feel after their treatments. And once they start seeing those results, with results also being a top priority. So yeah. I really think if you just take those two things, and also the never stop learning, which is connected with the results and safety, you have to invest in continued learning and training, because you don't want to be the clinic that's injecting nasolabial folds so that people are looking like, looking unproportionate. So never stop learning so that you can stay on the cutting edge of the industry.
Yeah. I don't want to look like Homer Simpson.
No. Hey, when I started using that, everyone's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. No, I don't want to look like that.
Can you share a memorable success story or a moment that stands out to you from your experience the last 6 years in the med spa?
Yeah, that's a great question. Honestly, there's a lot of success stories, but truly I find the most rewarding to be the transformations that happen daily right in front of us with our clients. I'm sure you can even kind of speak to this. I can speak to this with my own transformation, but seeing the clients go through the transformation right in front of us is the most rewarding. And I feel like that is really what success is about. I'm so passionate about making an impact in lives, and regardless of what people want to think, like how people look and feel definitely is going to catapult their life and flow into every aspect of their life and help you perform better. So definitely, I know that probably sounds so cliche, but the biggest success stories to me is definitely found in the transformations of our clients and what we do every day.
Yeah, that's good. If people keep listening, I'll talk about my little transformation story later. So hold on, folks, keep listening. So what advice would you give to aspiring entrepreneurs who are considering venturing into the med space or med spa space or the wellness industry?
Yeah. So I would definitely, I could write a book about this, and I should write a book when I get the time. Yes. But the most important piece of advice I would probably give is to do things the right way. That probably sounds so basic, but it's true. Again, going back to like these just, flying by the seat of their pants, doing Botox parties at home. So what I mean by doing things by the right thing in the med spa industry really is like compliance and doing your brand properly, not just rushing into it, and building that brand and really being selective with the services and products that you offer. So I refuse to bring on any vendor, partner, or product or device or service that I don't personally try for however long I have to try to see the results. And I think that speaks volumes because there is so much out there in the aesthetic world, from skincare lines to devices, including, devices and Botox that you can buy Black Label in China and make a larger profit. But to me, it's not worth it. Like, you don't know what you're buying. And also that is not compliant. So I think, a lot of people think this industry is all butterflies and rainbows, and it is. There's a lot of beauty to it, but there's also a lot of hustle. So, due diligence and making sure you're compliant, because again, we do fall within that medical space. And so it's really important that you're compliant with all of your treatments and how you do things in your clinic. Those would definitely be the biggest part of my advice. And then also just knowing that it's not easy. It's going to be a roller coaster. There's a lot of competition out there, but if you do things the right way and you create the right business and attract the right clients, you can definitely have massive success in the med spa world.
Yeah, that's good. Super helpful and inspiring. So collaboration and partnerships can be key to success in any business. You just talked about vendor partners and things like that. Have you had any particularly impactful collaborations or partnerships that you have contributed to the growth of your med spa?
Yeah, I totally agree. Collaboration and partnerships and just connecting with like-minded people and all of that good stuff. Definitely the vendors are a big part of that. So I do want to kind of expand on that a little bit. Our industry is just full of device companies and consumables, and they can make or break your success, not just because of the quality, but also because of the support. So if I'm going to buy devices that are $500,000, I expect long-term support to train my new team members, to train my existing team members, to come in for continued education, to come in for, innovation and new techniques and things like that. So it goes beyond just like the quality of the product, but the relationship is so important. Someone can, provide a great product, but if the relationship's not there, then forget it. So that's super important to me. Also, we do have a Skimbassador program, which is a collaborative thing that we kind of do. It's our version of influencers, and we've had great success with it in the past, but we've kind of put it on the back burner, and we're reevaluating it right now. But we're looking forward to relaunching that this year into something bigger and better. So I'm very excited about that. So collaborating with like outside, just to build the community. I think that's super important. And then of course I collaborate with a ton of badasses, including you, Kerri. I hope your listeners aren't offended by that, but it's true. I really invest in professional and personal growth personally, and for my team. And so that means a lot of collaborations with coaches and fractional COO, HR, which I'm working with you. I've grown so much, and it's been such a blessing to have you a part of that. So I think it's really important to connect with people and understand the value of investing in partnerships like that as well as a leader and an entrepreneur. So those are definitely all at the top.
Yeah. So looking ahead, what excites you most about the future of your business or the med spa industry as a whole?
The most exciting part is there's no limit. And we have some super exciting growth plans for SkinBe. Like we were kind of talking about earlier, the industry is booming and it's not stopping anytime soon. Again, like I mentioned earlier, the med spa industry is valued at over $7 billion in 2023, and that is not expected to stop anytime soon. But the really cool thing about SkinBe is we're able to tap into the wellness industry trends too, because we have the wellness side of our business. And the wellness is well over the 7 billion mark, valued over that. So we're able to tap into the two of those, which is really cool. And I'm just really excited about the growth of our company and opening more locations. We do plan to expand more locations, another location in St. Louis, reignite our franchise initiative, which kind of took a back burner with another big obstacle that came our way when a car ran through the storefront, but that's a whole nother story for another day. So we're going to relaunch the franchise side of things. And so I'm just really excited, and it just keeps me jumping out of bed every single day. So I'm thrilled to be in the industry and continue growing every day.
That's awesome. Okay, so I know several listeners and followers of mine have watched me transform over the past year and a half. And it's been a really, really fun process. And, I've shared a couple of things here and there on social media and what some of the results have been, which has been 55 pounds of weight loss, kind of turning back the hands of time in a number of different ways. But I thought there's no better time to go a little bit deeper on my process than when you're here, because it's been SkinBe Med Spa that I have done the majority of these products and services through. And I love how you'll say, okay, you're a product of the product. And that's so true. And it does speak volumes. You mentioned earlier, you don't bring things in-house unless you have tried them yourself. And I've seen that to be 100% true and accurate of you. And I love it too, being affiliated with your organization. But prior to that, so just a little background on that, I partnered up with SkinBe last summer. So my business launched in April. SkinBe was one of my early clients, and feel super grateful to be able to work alongside. But 3.5 years before that, I started using medical grade skincare through SkinBe. So SkinBe has two different product lines in that path. It's Obagi and then also SkinBe Skin and Beauty. I use products from both lines. They're both medical grade and partner with dermatology to be created and tested. And so I have had amazing facial results, face, neck, décolleté, back of hands, all of that when it comes to utilizing those products. So I started focusing on medical grade skincare. And then a couple of years in, because you all do great anti-aging and wellness assessments, I was able to talk about some of my other issues and goals. And just candidly, as being a mom of a big beefy guy that was almost 9 pounds, I had some issues with, and I feel like guys are going to be like, holy hell, what is she talking about right now? Mm-hmm. But we will talk about your erectile dysfunction here in a minute. But I had some issues with urine leaking. And women, you know what I'm talking about. I'm in my 40s, and whether you're going to laugh, cough, sneeze, jump on a trampoline, whatever that is, there's some issues that come along with that. And so I started utilizing something called the Emsculpt, and it's essentially a throne that you sit down on, and it simulates Kegels over the course of about a 28-minute treatment. And it was a game changer for me when it came to pelvic floor health, sexual health, and wellness. And so that really started opening my eyes outside of skincare of what else is here for me. And I started doing some research on NAD+. And if you haven't heard me talk about that, that means you're not following my social medias very closely, because I am a super huge proponent on NAD+. That's an intramuscular injection that I get at SkinBe. I try to take it every single week, but it's working on cellular rejuvenation. It is literally like turning back the hands of time. I highly recommend you do a deep dive on that product, and just know that SkinBe carries that. And I love that. That was a gateway to me to a number of different peptides and ultimately my weight loss. And this has been probably the hugest thing for me. And there's a lot of judgment around the different peptides, the GLP-1 receptors and things like that that are offered right now. But I can tell you firsthand, losing 55 pounds, so going from a size 10, 12 to a size 6, 8, it's not all about the way that I look, even though I look good and I feel really good about that. It does impact my confidence. A lot of it is I'm 41 years old. I have a knee injury from college basketball. And when I would squat down, it would cause some pain. I was carrying some extra weight on my hips and my joints. And losing that weight has been huge for me. I just wouldn't take this process back for anything. And I started that in January of 2023, have maintained my weight loss, moved to maintenance, and just feel super, super grateful for that. Through that process, just like anyone who loses a large amount of weight, I was working hard to keep my muscle up. Of course, I do other things like sauna and yoga and individual weight resistance training and things like that. I walk a ton. But I needed help. And so I started utilizing another mechanism that SkinBe has, which is the Emsculpt. And that has helped. The clinical studies have shown it will increase muscle by 30%, decrease muscle by 20%. So I'm using essentially a paddle on my lower abdomen. Again, I love that increased core strength that it brings. And I also love the way that it helps me look. And so, that's just kind of like a tip of the iceberg, honestly, on what products and services that SkinBe offers, but what has impacted me personally, among some other things that I did the CO2 laser. If you all followed my journey on that, it's a fractional CO2 laser that helped with some skin resurfacing. So it's super fun to be a part of an organization who is focused on these cutting edge products and services along with results, quality, and safety. And so it's honestly been one of the biggest joys of my life over the last year and a half has been this transformation. So that's the insider look. That's what I'm doing on top of, I drink a ton of water. I use a ton of vitamins and minerals and supplements. I'm a sourdough gal. I moved to a 140-acre farm. There's a lot that I've done. I read, all of that stuff. So it's a number of things that go into it, like limiting your alcohol intake and stuff like that. But there are products and services that can kickstart your journey and give you the confidence that you need to stay true and stay focused. And so out of everything that I just mentioned, let's talk some other products and services that maybe I haven't necessarily tried. I loved you talking about Sculptra, you guys, that has beet sugar and it's a more natural alternative, which I'm into. But talk to us about a few of the other things that are super popular or bring people in the door at SkinBe.
Yeah, absolutely. First and foremost, though, by the way, that is a success story that lights me on fire.
Yes.
I love it. Thank you for sharing all that with the listeners, because that's truly what we do. We're changing lives. I could talk all day about what we offer, but I'll kind of talk about some of them that Kerri didn't mention and that are some of my favorites. Definitely Sculptra, like I mentioned earlier. I personally had that done, and just with aging, I've never had filler done in my face, dermal filler, besides my lips. Until last year, I did get a little bit of mid-face filler in combination with the Sculptra, but genetically speaking and with aging, I started noticing jawling. And unfortunately, I have that genetically from my father and grandmother. So I'm like, this is not happening. So the Sculptra just really helped with that. Also, I'm sure a lot of people are hearing with the semaglutide, the Ozempic face or the Ozempic booty. We don't do Ozempic, we do semaglutide, but we oftentimes recommend the Sculptra for that to really get that collagen growing. But we know that anyone that loses weight, whether it's with semaglutide or other weight loss options, that your face typically is going to get thinner. So we really need to keep that collagen because we're losing fat pads in there as we age, as well as if we're losing weight. So that's a huge game changer. Also, the Neo is really great on the glutes for anyone that is experiencing some of that protein, that deficient in protein. But like you kind of said earlier, it's really important for us to make sure, like even with semaglutide or the devices, or when you're doing Sculptra, you have to do your other, it's not just it's a process, number one. And number two, it's also typically a combination of modalities, both at SkinBe, but also things that you're doing at home personally. Skincare is huge for me. It's changed my life. It's changed my skin, and it's 50% of our results. So I tell people, if you're not even going to invest in the medical grade skincare, then doing Botox and CO2 laser and all that isn't worth it. I just try to keep it real because that's the truth, especially SPF every single day, because that's the insurance to everything. And so 80% of premature aging is caused from sun exposure. And I was guilty. I was that person that never wore sunscreen even 7 years ago. I was in the industry still not doing it because the company I was with before wasn't real big on medical grade skincare. Some of my other favorites real quick are PRP. So we were one of the first clinics in the state of Missouri that started offering PRP for aesthetic purposes. It was kind of a newer trend in the industry, and it is more of a natural, it is a totally natural approach, because what we do is we actually we draw your blood, we spin it in a centrifuge, and we separate the platelet-rich plasma from the red blood cells. And the platelet-rich plasma is full of stem cells and growth factors. So as you know, stem cells have so many benefits to it. And we offer 3 different services currently with that. With PRP, one of them being topically with microneedling, which microneedling is an amazing result for everything skin texture related as well. We also offer it for hair rejuvenation. So it will stimulate dormant hair follicles. I've personally had it done because I did have a little bit of a receding hairline. So you can do targeted areas, or you can do it for more severe hair thinning and balding as well. And then we also offer it as an injectable. It does stimulate collagen naturally in that area, not to the extent of Sculptra, but it does stimulate, and it is also really great at kind of rejuvenating that skin area. So the most common area for injections on that is the tear troughs. We cannot inject Sculptra in the tear troughs. So this is a great option for that, for anyone that has dark circles or hollowness. And even for, like I said, the skin rejuvenation part of it. So I used to have milia really kind of moderately, severely under my eyes, and it's cleared that up completely. So that is definitely a game changer and one of my favorites. Also, all the body stuff that you mentioned, everything's my favorite. It's really a game changer and changes lives. I could go on and on forever, but those are some of my favorites. And we would love to invite all the listeners in, or even if you're not local, to visit our website. We do have an online store with all of our skincare. We also offer complimentary virtual skincare assessments, or we have in-person assessments for anti-aging and wellness. And we're also going to do a little surprise for your listeners. I want to offer an exclusive discount for all of your listeners on Don't Waste the Chaos. And the exclusive discount will be 15%. The code is Kerri, Kerri 24, and it will be 15% online or at the clinic. So just make sure you use that code Kerri 24, Kerri 24.
Awesome. And you guys, that's a great savings on products and services that you want and you need. And that's an amazing opportunity, because SkinBe does not it's not a discount shop, if you know what I'm saying. So we're going to run that through the end of April. So it's going to be for the month of April is when that discount code is going to be applicable. So if you're listening to this after April 2024, you're going to have to reach out to me and ask for something special. Otherwise, for the month of April of 2024, that discount code is going to be applicable. So I love that. All right, Beth, where can people find you?
Yes, absolutely. They can find me on Hustle and Heart podcast. So like Kerri mentioned earlier, I do have a podcast called Hustle and Heart. That is Hustle in, as in Nancy, and then Heart podcast. And then we have SkinBe Med Spa. SkinBe is SkinBe Med Spa. And then my personal handle is Queen Bee Donaldson. So I would love for you all to follow me, give me a follow. Let's connect. I would love to hear from you.
I love that. Beth, you brought a ton of value and insights to our listeners today. Thank you so much. That wraps up another episode of DWTC. We talked about some chaos today. We learned how an entrepreneur embraced it and thrived from it. I hope it inspired you to jump in headfirst, regardless of what others say or how hard it can get, and make it happen for yourself. Let's go.